Part 3, which is the end of this dietary research. You are what you eat, you are what you breathe, and you are what you drink. And it covers pesticides. Do you know how much you're eating and what it's doing to you? It covers the heart program that I worked with that saved my father's life for a good 15 years. And if you don't do it, it'll kill you. Just had somebody that I know just died. He never had a sick day in his life. And he went just like that. I've been sick since I'm 6 years old. I live with dying. I'm a bubble person, and I'm 78. I'm still here. So, yeah. It works if you work it. And it also covers what I call the supreme diet. It's very complicated, and yet it's not. You separate all your food groups to get the maximum nutrition. So that will be part 3. And bon appetit. Okay, this is going to be about how much pesticides are you eating. And this is my lovely website that's being destroyed because there's no way I can put it up permanently. Pesticides in food is the silent genocide. You cannot see it. You don't know how much is in the food you eat, and you don't know where the food was grown and how much the soil it grew in was contaminated. Pesticides have proven to cause cancer, Parkinson's, Parkinsonism, autism, and a vast array of nerve and brain damage. At what age depends on your exposure from early childhood to aging in seniors. I have no choice, no voice, but I do keep trying. Fennel recently poisoned me so bad I wound up with metabolic breakdown, severe cramps, digestion damage, crippling attacks, unable to walk, and no matter what I ate from then on, I was extremely sick. It took me over 2 months to reverse this. And although I am on the mend by eating yogurt or okra and organic plant-based foods and spring greens when I can no longer tolerate many foods that previously didn't do me any harm. Metabolic breakdown takes months to repair, sometimes years. I love fennel, but obviously the pesticides are such I will obviously never risk eating it again. Not all fennel would be so toxic, but since we have no knowledge of where our food comes from, I have no choice but to boycott all fennel in future. Just as I had to boycott all Canadian food to get well, because we've no right to know what is in our food, and all ingredients are not on the food label. If you suffer from eating, you may also have been poisoned and must flush out all toxins to fully recover, or you can wind up with early onset dementia, Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's, and a vast array of brain and nerve damage. Canola oil has the pesticides already spliced into the seed, as does most of our wheat, soya, and God knows what else. Oats are no longer safe. A recent study discovered that oats were heavily contaminated with Monsanto's weed killer Roundup, and it's proven to be deadly. Now, as farmers were pushed by our governments to use pesticides, the risk is always present. Claims that organic costs 49% more than pesticide-laced food is misleading. How much does chronic illness and diseases caused by being systemically poisoned by the so-called cheaper foods cost? Now we're talking trillions of dollars. There's no way that that's cheaper. But you see, that's the game your government and the corporations play. They're all a bunch of fascist pigs, truthfully. Only a sociopath would think that that's all right. So that is really the question we should be asking before we poison our children and ourselves. Now, I began to cripple at age 6, couldn't work at age 42, and at 78, every day of my life, I fight for survival in a world so toxic that I risk dying or worse, endure painful agony and brutal torture. That's not a future I want for you or your children. Now, herbs and foods that help to increase the metabolic rate to help lose weight. Now, I included that because Dan really wanted it in there. I thought that there was enough weight loss information, but I'm surprised to discover that they're really not as smart as they think they are. Now, fenugreek, Dan had best results with adding to all foods, and he added cinnamon, red pepper, not black. Black is toxic to the heart. Oregano and turmeric, chili peppers. Now, ginger didn't work for Dan, and I'm allergic to ginger. He tried ginseng and it didn't work. Apple cider vinegar to all meals, as well as doing extreme exercise, was not helping. So I switched him to dancing along with the new diet, and he quickly lost 25 pounds in a few months. Now, the best foods were as follows. Distilled water, 4 cups daily, not 8. Protein, no beef, organic chicken, organic eggs, rainbow trout, salmon, organic Greek yogurt, but not too much. Don't forget, you can get too much calcium. He was taking too many cups a day. Beans, peas, crushed almonds. They all added to a salad is good for protein. Number 3, for iron, zinc, and selenium-rich foods, seafood, beans, nuts, and seeds add to salads. He puts it in a smoothie. All legumes, beans, chickpeas are high in protein and water-soluble fiber. I just can't get any yogurt, organic, so I had to give that one up. Fruit is high in fructose sugar, so cut back on that until you get your optimum weight. And add organic berries instead to organic oatmeal porridge. Very healthy for the bowel, and then a few clumps of yogurt with it as well. Now, most people overweight are eating too many strict weight carbohydrates, myself and Dan included, and not enough veggies. Pam, a dancer that I know, has maintained the most perfect body in the 20 years I have known her, and she just adds vegetables to every meal in her day. Every supper she has vegetables. Broccoli is especially healthy and high in calcium. I add that to eggs with garlic and herbs. Organic greens, baby carrots, organic baked grape tomatoes. It's an anti-cancer food. Raw organic broccoli. That we can get frozen. Coffee and green tea have caffeine and they increase the metabolic rate, but they have side effects that is not really good. Now, coconut oil is turned to energy and less likely to turn to fat only if you exercise extreme. And he does bike exercise on a daily basis. Now, 5 foods everyone should eat daily. Organic kale is available at Walmart. Extra virgin organic olive oil is available just about everywhere. And most beneficial to fibromyalgia and lupus are too many to list, but most celebrities are on a very similar diet. Now, except for raw okra, it's not yet known. And I've only been at it since 1995, and I still can't get anybody to put it out. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. But not cooked, it has vitamin C, and it has some vegetarian protein, riboflavin, niacin, iron, zinc, copper, fiber, extremely high fiber, vitamin A, C, K, B, and folate, B6, thiamine, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, and magnesium. And I already talked to you about turnips. Now, these are the two main superfoods. Should be in your daily diet. And turnips are at Walmart raw, so they're available. Most places you won't find it in Sudbury where I am, but depends where you live, you know. A perfect meal would be cooked kale, baby turnips, sardines, and Brussels sprouts. Skinless, boneless, in my opinion. Kale cooked is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, and it's a member of the broccoli family with vitamin A, beta-carotene, and beta-carotene does not become toxic in your body as it's water-soluble, whereas the fish oil, vitamin A, is not water-soluble and can become toxic. However, I can only get it organic at Walmart, and it's kind of old. I have to cook it for a whole hour to make it edible. It ain't no baby, that's for sure. Add extra olive oil to salads and vegetables in a spoon or a soup, or cook or frying, and it gives you the daily amount of healthy fat that you need. You don't need anything fancy. It's not expensive. A vegetarian protein meal is kale cooked in vegetable or chicken broth. Mushrooms is a high protein, lightly fried. Do not overcook mushrooms. The white button mushrooms can be eaten raw, so I quickly stir fry and remove from the heat. Portobello mushrooms is a favorite, but it should be well cooked. Tastes a lot like steak with garlic and herbs. Yeah, it's a good steak substitute is the portobello mushroom. Now, the OKRA for Life, or OKRA Diet for Disease Control, it is a system for disease prevention and control that most millionaire celebrities are already on, except for the raw okra. Now, the keto diet tricks your brain into starvation mode until using your own body fat for energy, but don't stay on it too long. It really can be very, very, very toxic. And that's the end of this series. And I have to cut this off now because I got to move to the next series. Okay, I began to research heart disease because my father took several heart attacks and he was addicted to beef. And I knew in 1966, Seventh-day Adventists had me on vegetarian because of my own disease, which was never properly diagnosed. And there is no medical real treatment for my disease, Parkinsonism. But there is a lot on heart. And I have a dear friend, Len Voisey, who, although maybe not follow the diet perfectly, he certainly is following good exercise and medication. And he's already lived 12 years past what the doctors predicted. So God bless Len. But so many others didn't survive. But I do know that this diet is 100%. And most intelligent heart patients are on it. But when I went on YouTube and Google, I didn't find enough information to make it easy for people who aren't genius readers and digest all that technical terminology. So the first thing is a superfood, of course, has to be okra. You won't see that here, but you got to start with okra. I didn't know about okra back in my father's day, but even 3 a day fresh if it's okra, by the way, doesn't require a lot of pesticides, so you don't have to worry about that. It's one of the what we call the green products, food products. But organic has to be organic because otherwise they're just so full of pesticides they are of no use whatsoever. Carrots and sweet potatoes to get your vitamin A have to be cooked to get the vitamin A. Apples and fruit have to be raw to get the vitamin C. All variety of beans are a vegetarian protein. Soya beans are very toxic. They made me so sick I had to stop. But peas, easy to get peas organic, and they're very high in organic protein. Cauliflower are best cooked. I like to add mushrooms, garlic, and red onions to cauliflower and red pepper. Broccoli is high in calcium. Onion and garlic, you should add some to all your meals. Brussels sprouts are a member of the cabbage family. They can be hard to digest, so make sure they're well cooked. Legumes is a bean, and a peanut is a legume, and it's a bean, and it is a protein, but it's not a nut. And I can't eat it raw because I can't eat raw beans. And I don't think anybody should be eating raw peanuts. Should be cooked. Cooked without salt. I get them dry roasted. Okay, what's the next one? Yes, there's your okra. Mediterranean diet is really, really wonderful. It has proven to prevent cancer and reverse heart disease. Look it up on Google. There's lots of information on that. Red cabbage is an antioxidant, powerful to detox, but it tastes like blech. I still love white cabbage with olive oil, vinegar, and garlic. Yummy yum. Vegetables, whole grains, extra virgin olive oil, apple cider vinegar is really, really important for cardiovascular. Red pepper raw is very high in vitamin C, so I eat the red raw and cook the other two. Vegetarian protein soup. Well, you can get organic mixed beans, but you've got to cook them for a couple of hours to burn off the gases in them, or they'll get cramps. Then I add peas, tomatoes, red, green, yellow peppers, chopped cilantro. Cilantro is used by Italians, and I often forget to buy it because it wasn't a part of my French, Canadian, Russian diet. But it reduces 80% of the heavy metals in your body, and it's really important if you have heart disease. A baby mix spring greens, onions, and garlic. Organic raw, but I throw it in when I make a soup. Why not? Don't add spinach, by the way, because if the spinach stops you from getting calcium, you have to eat spinach completely separate, 2 hours apart from anything before or after. In other words, in between 4 hours, eat spinach. That's what I do. No dairy, no yogurt, nothing with spinach. Yeah, it's really bad for calcium. And I try to eat a calcium meal separately. Tomato helps to prevent cancer, and it's the one fruit that can be cooked and it doesn't lose its nutritional value. Organic fruit salad and yogurt is one that I love with either with apples or oranges, but oranges can be acidic, so I have to watch that. Grapes are too high in natural sugar, so I cut them out of my diet. I eat plenty of strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, cherries. And all the berries are good for heart disease. Spices, turmeric, curry, cinnamon, red cayenne pepper, never black. Black is really bad for the heart, and no salt. Organic sprouted whole grain breads, anti-inflammatory foods. You look them up on Google. Organic eggs, skinless chicken, thighs, pork, organic, grass-fed buffalo meat. Lamb or goat is okay, but I don't eat beef. Organic oatmeal porridge with tart cherries, mixed berries, and yogurt. Add nuts, crushed almonds. Don't just eat almonds, they can break your teeth. And about every day you should have 4 to 5 walnuts. Even the heart specialists will tell you that. And organic honey. Okay, now there are ways to prevent a heart attack from killing you. It is online. You've only have about 10 seconds before losing consciousness. It says, do not panic. Panic kills more people than the heart attack itself. Inhale air with a deep breath and cough. Right down from into the bottom of your stomach. Force yourself to keep coughing. And deep coughing, prolonged, it produces spit and sputum deep inside the chest, lungs. And a deep breath cough must be repeated every 2 seconds without letting up until help arrives. Of course, while you're doing all this, dial 911, and until your heartbeat starts to beat normally again. Deep breathing gets oxygen into the lungs, and coughing movement squeezes the heart and keeps the blood circulating. The squeezing pressure on the heart also helps it regain normal rhythm. And in this way, a heart attack victims can get to a hospital. Share with as many people as possible about this. It saved my life not once but twice a few years back. Only I often forget about it. And the first time it was in 1997. I was driving from Sudbury to Wasaga Beach, and I wound up with an aneurysm in the middle of nowhere. I pulled over and I meditated to control the panic, and I actually followed the above procedure unconsciously. I didn't even know why I was doing it, but I have a kind of genetic I have a subconscious memory sometimes that comes into play. Hard to explain that, but it's just there, and it throws me the information. It's almost like reading it off the wall. Okay, and once my heart rate was normal, I drove to the Collingwood Hospital, and the doctor confirmed that indeed I was about to take a heart attack, but I'd gotten there in time with no damage. The second time I managed to drive home and call an ambulance, and again I was lucky, there was no damage. But this time, I think it was around 2013, Len Voisey rescued me from this time. I was trying to develop this website, which I'm now losing in 2020. And I found it so difficult that I didn't drink or eat for 22 hours. And that's what dehydration is, people. It causes your heart to stop. I went into severe spasms of pain. And from there, Len Voisey rescued me, and he finished this beautiful website, which COVID-19 will kill me and it will disappear. And everything on Facebook I have will disappear. So that's why I am doing this on YouTube. So please share. Very important. God bless. Over and out. Oh, sorry. I kind of messed this up there a little bit. Oh. Well, Supreme Diet. There have been a lot of fancy words for this program. But what it is, you separate your food groups. Now, I do that almost all the time anyway. The vegetarians taught me to do that because I don't get the nutrition from food. I have so much damage with Parkinsonism and being poisoned all my life with pesticides and gas, oil, and diesel and all of the above. And when you become a senior, or if you have another disease such as cancer, separating your food groups means that your body, I wrote a silly little ditty once that I'm going to share with you first. I had so much trouble figuring out what I could eat that wouldn't poison me, that didn't cause an attack, that didn't make me sick, that didn't make me pass out, chronically ill, no energy. And I'm a girl that wanted to be a dancer on Broadway, that loves the snow in winter, loves to climb mountains, loves to ski, wind sail, fish, canoe, you name it. I am not the personality that likes to stay in bed, but I actually have an uncle that did. And I'm extremely sociable. You can stick me in a mic in front of 3,000 people and ask me questions and I'll give a talk. No problem. Totally the opposite of my partner, a hermit. Antisocial. Hates to have conversation of any kind other than about poker. But he's my mommy. He's a wonderful caretaker. Anyway, he helped me with my mother because her metabolism went completely out of whack. And when my metabolism broke down and I became terminal, a specialist at Sunnybrook Hospital actually said to me, "You've got metabolic breakdown." And that was the end of the conversation. Now I'm talking 1984. He could have saved my life, and that son of a bitch sent me out onto the streets with no further information than that. Yeah. So here's what you do with metabolic breakdown. Now, you could be a child, you could be 90, it doesn't matter. You separate your food groups. And my mother couldn't get it, and I couldn't get it. So Mr. Mack, at one point, he said to me, "Trudy, you're a miner's daughter." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, think of your stomach as a mine, and each man, you've got 9 guys, and they've all got a job to do. Now, one guy is designed to break down the carbohydrates. The other guy is designed to break down the protein. Another one is to help get the calcium out of the food. Another one, his job is specifically to help you get your vitamin C. The other one is to get your vitamin A. The other one is to get a number of magnesiums and minerals. Now, let's say you got 9 guys and they've all got a specific job to do. Now, you eat potato chips. So the potato guy goes to work. And then you eat a burger. That's beef. So the protein guy goes to work. And now you top that off with an apple. So the vitamin C fruit guy goes to work. And then you add to that some sugar sauce. So the sugar guy says, "Well, I can't handle all this by myself." So a couple of other guys come to the rescue. And then you go and you eat a chocolate bar. Now, a chocolate bar has got minerals, sugar, protein, and carbohydrates. And the 9th guy said, "Yikes, she's done it. Help." And they said, "Ah, to hell with her," and they go on strike. Okay. And that's still true today. So I did that with my mother. And she was developing serious problems. So I typed this up on my website, which I'm going to lose. May 2020, COVID-19 is going to kill me and all this work's going to disappear. But back in 1994, Dr. Paavo Airola, if you can see that here, Okay, maybe I'll get in closer. He wrote a book that was ahead of the curve. Really, really good book. But it's off the market now. You'll never find it. And I still have a copy. And in it, he had okra for heart disease and diabetes, but it was cooked. And in 1995, I discovered you have to eat it raw to really get the full benefit, and it will reverse brain damage. And my mother took a seizure, and it reversed her brain damage. A little shout out to Tom, who's there in heaven. He helped me. Now, the Supreme Diet is a very simple old system, and it's been called food combining. Well, that to me didn't make sense because you're not combining food, you're separating food. It was also used 100 years ago by a Dr. Kellogg, who was the brother of the founder of the Kellogg cereal. And they had a falling out, frankly, because he didn't believe in sugar. But he did work with diabetics with diet. They didn't have insulin, and he was very successful. Now, again, you have to be, in our age, in our environment, everybody should be in a gas mask. I've been in one for 34 years. You should all be in a gas mask until we get rid of all the toxic industrial pollution and toxic sulfuric acids and gas, oil, and diesel, and propane, and et cetera, and pesticides, and so on. And we could do it. We could be very successful, and we would eradicate about 90% of the diseases, but don't want to do that, do we? Okay. Now, to understanding the biochemistry of what you eat and maximize the supreme superpower of each food group, by eating separately, it allows your digestive system to get the full nutritional value possible. No matter what your deficiencies are, you're going to get more doing that than if you don't. Your lifestyle just doesn't burn off all those carbs and fats that are unhealthy. And I'm testimony to that. Yeah, look at that gorgeous body I once had. In fact, I had it right up till I was 72, and I lost it because of depression. We won't go there. Okay. So I want to skip to the one that I used for my mother. You find what works for you. But here's what is suggested, okay? Doesn't work for me, and I will add that in as I go along. But it worked for my mother. My mother was hypoglycemic, and she had 6 little meals a day, and she was very, very disciplined because she loved to dance. Now, the truth is, if I could still go dancing, I wouldn't be eating all this junky shit that I'm eating. But because of COVID-19, and no, not just because of that. I got to back up. 2 years ago, I had to stop going dancing because my immune system is so low. And you people out there are so stupid. You went to the dances with your strep throat, lung infection, cold virus, to name a few, and you made me so sick, I nearly died, and I had to stop going altogether and isolate. And my only safe time is winter. Now, my mother had a much stronger immune system, raised on the farm with no pesticides. She worked in an air conditioning environment other than a couple of years in the smelter during the war. So this worked for her, and it does work for most normal, healthy people. And when I say healthy, I mean you've been healthy up until the point of 70 or 60 or 50 or whatever. So they recommend fruit only with okra and yogurt. Yes, okra and tomatoes are the one thing that, whether it's a fruit or a vegetable, you can eat it with anything. You don't have to separate it. And she would have that with oatmeal, organic porridge, yogurt, and fruit. And raw tomato is a fruit, but it can be used as a vegetable. So there are okra and tomato that it doesn't matter. You can put it with your vegetable dish or your fruit dish or your carb dish. Okay. Lunch, carbohydrates only. So she would have it with a sandwich of whole grain, sprouted, fermented, organic bread with tomatoes, organic tomatoes sliced. And everything has to be organic, okay? Don't even go there. Midday snack or in the evening, vegetables only. She fitted that in around 3 o'clock because if you eat at noon, you can have your next meal at 3 o'clock. And then supper will be 6 or 7 o'clock. Okay, so she would have her vegetables, broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, salad greens. She lost her teeth like Dan, so I made her a smoothie. But we cooked the broccoli and the carrots and the cauliflower with onions and garlic and organic extra virgin olive oil. No peas, that's a protein. Celery, I cut that out because celery is full of pesticides unless you can get it organic. Fennel was delicious. We loved it, but we were no longer able to get it organic, so that had to be cut out. And I added to that dillweed. The Seventh-day Adventist taught me that I get hyperactive and I have severe distress. I like stress. Give me a deadline, give me a job to do, and put me under stress, and I'm go like a bat out of hell. It's like I'm self-competitive, self-challenging. Works for me. Distress is when you're mean to me, abusive, saying nasty lies about me, cursing at me, and poisoning me. That's distress. Robbing me of the pleasure of dancing. Now I'm in distress, yes, because I am a people person. Yes, I could dance and create videos, and when I get all this done, I probably will if I'm still alive, but it's never going to be the same for me. I love to dance, and I was part of the entertainment, and I loved it. Does that make me vain? Well, perhaps, but I made a lot of people happy doing it, and I made myself happy. Okay, back to vegetables. Yes, I get sidetracked. Supper is your protein meal. Protein only. Meat should be no beef. We've been through that a dozen times. Fish, no codfish, no suckerfish. I've told you about that. Mushrooms, any kind of mushrooms is a protein. Greek yogurt is a protein, but too much is a calcium and it can block your arteries. Stick to a half a cup a day. Dan's been like 4 cups a day. Beans is a protein. Peas is a protein. Cheese is a protein. Okay. And tomatoes are the exception. And my mother had to have some kind of a sauce with everything. So I would melt tomatoes with olive oil and put that on her meat. And rainbow trout. I would put a little bit of olive oil and apple cider vinegar, and yeah, and she loved it. But you can have yogurt with your protein because yogurt has protein already in it anyway. Now, onions and garlic, okay with anything. Late night snack, a few samples that I had my mother on. For fruit in the morning, I had her on apple and pineapple diced with yogurt. Pineapples are an aid to digestion. Oranges can be too acidic, so I cut her off the oranges. She was okay with grapes, but because of the sugar, she would only have about 3 or 4 grapes, not to eat too many. And grapefruit is out, it's too acidic, causes indigestion. Now the mid-morning snack, organic mixed greens salad, a splash of olive oil, apple cider vinegar, and a couple of grape tomatoes. Lunch, organic whole grain sprouted bread, honey, and almond butter. Almond butter is very healthy, or pumpkin seed butter, very high in iron and must be organic. Or oat porridge, or a sweet potato in olive oil, or beets and carrots and root vegetables. They're all considered a carb. Brown rice is a carb. No white, don't forget, no white anything. No stripped carbs, got to be brown. Rice, complex carbohydrates. And Google has a lot of this information, so if you don't know and I'm going too fast, you can look it up on Google. Organic multigrain pasta, green pasta, vegetarian veggie pasta now are available, all organic. That's all part of your carbohydrate. Vegetables. My mother loved her broccoli, celery, and fennel, and organic avocado, egg-free mayonnaise. And that would be her midday snack with her vegetables. Because like I say, she had to have some kind of a sauce with everything. So, we worked on that and we found, so you work on what works for you and what you like, but make sure everything is organic. And supper, egg omelet with cheese, onion, mushrooms. Well, mushroom is a protein, so that's okay. And peppers, a little bit of peppers and tomatoes, and garlic and onions. Now, rainbow trout we had with onions and garlic and button mushrooms. Skinless, boneless chickens I boil, always boil. I never fry chicken. And I just put it with a bit of olive oil and garlic, and red peppers are optional. And just a little tiny bit of red cayenne pepper. And sometimes for a change, we would add a little curry and give it a different flavor. Okay, organic grain-fed veal, if you can find it, is okay, but never beef. Stir-fried in mushrooms, garlic, and sometimes we put a bit of Swiss cheese on it. She liked that. Brown rice, cooked. I have a way of cooking rice. I put in a pot, fill up the pot to whatever level you want, and leave a good 2 inches of water, and bring it to a boil. Then put in your rice. And an old Chinese in his 90s taught me this, because I had trouble getting rice cooked properly, and I always wound up burning the pot. So he would say, and you put in your rice, and then you take it down to a simmer for 1 hour, and don't peek. And it would be all puffed and soft and beautiful. Yeah. And red rice the same, but black is different. Black is really a seed and very expensive, so we just add a few of them for flavor. But that's all a protein. Baked brown beans with eggs was a favorite. Peanuts are a protein. Organic peanut butter can be a meal. Raw peanuts, well, I don't suggest anybody eat raw peanuts, okay, because it's a bean. Cook it. Now, her midnight snack she would have from anywhere between 10 to midnight. And we broke the rule because sometimes she couldn't sleep. And oat porridge would help her sleep, so she'd have another carb. Or she would have a multigrain pasta or an egg or a chicken. They help me sleep. So if she was okay, her night meal would be yogurt and berries was her favorite, with a little bit of organic, well, maple syrup's pretty much organic anyway. It comes from the maple tree. They don't usually spray pesticides on them. But yeah, and that would be her evening snack. And no salt. She had developed kidney disease because of eating sauces all her life. Dancing is, of course, year-round, and it's a #1 exercise that one should do. If you can do more than that, great, but some of us can't. An egg omelet with yogurt is a good idea. Sometimes I would make her an organic pancake. I would buy the pancake from the bulk organic pancake mix because it's just easier. When you're sick, you haven't got time to spend 3 hours cooking. I don't use an oven. It takes too long. I don't have enough hours in the day to waste with an oven. So I do everything stovetop cooking, a little hot plate. And sometimes she forgot to cook the tomatoes and it would give gas pains. But if it's small grape tomatoes, she never got gas pains, and nor did I. But never put fruit with a protein. Now, for some reason, they did that in England, and I don't know why, but it's really bad. Not what you do. Don't ever mix fruit with protein, except for tomatoes. So I made her this pancake, and I added the egg for extra protein because she was starting to lose her muscles at 95. And superfoods, well, I've talked about a lot of this before, but I'll just go over it quickly. Raw okra, feeds the brain. Cinnamon, if you can get it to melt, which I have trouble doing. We don't get very good cinnamon here. It has to be ground extremely fine to get it to melt. But it will detox white fat. What you want is brown fat. Nature's Bounty coated garlic pills, clean air. If you can get it, never exercise in traffic or industrial fumes. I searched for 2 years to find clean air without a gas mask, which means I have to drive out of town 45 minutes to an hour to a wilderness park. Right now it's spring and they're so full of bugs, I can't go. And once it gets hot, well, I'm heat sensitive. I won't be getting much exercise outside then either. But if I can get a good windy day when there's no bugs and it's a little cooler, and if you can find a clean lake that has no blue algae and it's not polluted, well, can't beat that. I did that for years. I swam in wilderness, clean lakes with no pollution for forever, until a few years ago when the blue algae and pesticide spraying our forests by planes polluted all 300 lakes, and now there's I don't know where I can swim anymore. I guess I never will. This was my self-portrait. I was so happy that I actually got to find clean, fresh air that I could breathe without a friggin' gas mask. Ha! Yeah. And that was me at 72. God, I was gorgeous, wasn't I? Yeah. Oh, well. That's me at 70 over here, and that's me way back when. OKRA. Yes, it's anti-aging. Okay. So, bon appetit, and over and out. Making myself hungry.